I'm not feeling you. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, I'm leaving anyway.
No matter how big you get, the testicles are. Okay.
Up next, my type of carrying on.
I know you've been through some pain.
Can we pull that up?
Bleaching.
Pull that up, Red.
We got it up.
This is my type of carrying on. You know what I'm saying?
Front page news
We
is
just
next.
got here, y'all. We just gonna, it's my type of carrying on right here.
Now, of course, Trump is saying that Kamala isn't black. I guarantee you this, Kamala's been black a lot longer than Trump's been a Republican. Of course, Kamala's getting broad support. They got black men for Kamala, white men for Kamala, Latinos and Asians for Kamala. They even have Republicans for Kamala. Republicans for Kamala. I guess Donald Trump will finally know what it's like when you get left for a younger woman.
I'm a solid dude. My family loves me, despite all the horrible shit I've done. I'm as solid as they come. Can you say the same? I ain't gotta sue people or call people out. I ain't gotta argue. I just be I am and do what I do. Everywhere, the Hulk, every time there's a fight, every time he gets mad, he turns green. Yeah. But everywhere he go, he tears shit up. Maybe it's you. My children will openly talk about how much they love. My granddaughter, show me a picture of you with your family. One, anywhere, of somebody loving you. Anywhere. I said it. If you spend half of your time doing as opposed to talking about who didn't do for you and what they did for you, you'd be a lot further along. You wouldn't be evicted. You wouldn't be working for your man. You wouldn't be asking other comics for money. So you got all the ingredients. Take that piece of paper that you're running down the list with, and that pen that you got, and that daddy sitting next to you, and do what you can't do what you never do. Write a fucking joke. Me and Snoop had the worst argument.
Really? Well, I mean, look, I could tell you, and I don't think this information is publicly out, so I can't go into specifics, but I know someone who ended a major project with Snoop after he performed at Trump's event. He basically said, I didn't sign up for it. And this is like a real artist who told me this. I don't think it's actually out, so I can't say, but
me and
a
Snoop had
major
the
project
worst.
with Snoop got canceled because this guy said, oh, you're doing that? No, I'm good. So there's lots of people like you that are like, basically hold the line.
I said, me and Snoop had the worst argument.
Really?
We argued.
Over Trump?
After this thing happened, he'll tell you, we talked for 2 hours shouting at each other.
Huh.
Snoop, I loved him so much. I grew up in LA, 135th and Avalon. And when he got in trouble, I prayed for him. I his life to pray for. I prayed.
Prayed for him.
I prayed that he would be all right. Nelly is... Please. I thought that right. Because I thought he had so much... He's one of the most famous human beings on the face of the earth.
100%.
And the thing about Snoop, I thought his heart was in the right place, but I thought theirs wasn't. Never take nothing from them. But the minute while he was on stage doing what he was doing, what was Elon Musk doing? Snoop said, if you ever perform for him, he had one vantage point, 8 years earlier and another one. So Snoop's argument was with Snoop, not with us. It was internal. So he changed who he was. We didn't. And I didn't like when he tried to make it seem as if black people don't sit together. We did. 92% of black men voted against him. 86% of black men. We stuck together. You didn't. So, and I love him. We argued. We fought. At the end of it, we came to a thing. I just hated that they use. What they do is they buy the they make. And they bought his gravitas and his weight.
Oh, yeah.
It hurt my feelings when I saw Elon Musk do that thing.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a huge check for that. Huge check.
All right. So
but then again, Snoop is already wealthy. So I'm sure that check made no difference in his overall life.
I think that for Nelly was an entirely different thing. I think he's a talented man. I think he did what he did. Snoop was ours. The Pantheon, the Panthers, and NWA, and Ice Cube, and Dre, and Snoop, they belong to us.
There's a whole scene
that unfolded at this church.
Right.
You saw this, right? Nicki Minaj going after Don Lemon. You see this, like for
Nicki Minaj,
for reporting
it
it.
was so funny to me. People hate. It's so funny how many on the right hate. They hate transgender and gay people more than they do pedophiles. That's amazing to me. Nicki don't need to worry about Don. She need to be with Don Lemon, and Nicki Minaj need to be worried about Chris Hansen. That's what she needs to be worried about. There are more illegal immigrants if that is your cause. In Texas, in Florida, in Illinois, in Georgia, even in California. He is punishing those people. One, because the governor ran against him, and two, he just wants to be even. This is a campaign against blue states and blue cities. Donald Trump has used America, and he's used them in Somalia, in Libya, in Venezuela, in Nigeria. He's also used American military in Los Angeles, in Minneapolis, in Chicago, and in DC. And when you look at the way he talks about foreign dictators, he talks about mayors and governors of blue cities the same way. He's a petulant child. He's ruling like a dictator. And this could all stop if Congress would do their job, and they won't. Minneapolis has 2.2% illegal immigration. 2.2, you're spending all these, that's like spraying in a whole can of Raid to kill a roach.
Well, Nicki Minaj accused you of blackballing her. Now, this situation was around her threatening
DJ Self.
DJ Self. There we go. Thank you for correcting me. So tell me how this whole thing played out.
So first and foremost, I love my DJs, right?
Yeah.
I'm from an era of DJs, whether we knew each other or didn't, there was competition, but we all worked with each other, right?
True.
We were all cool. And a lot of times DJs are the last man on the totem pole, right? That's the last people that artists at times. We get disrespected a lot of times.
Paid the worst.
We get paid the worst, right?
Yes.
So Nicki Minaj had a problem with DJ Self back in the day, right? Now, it was because they tell me that Self was talking about he liked, I believe, Nicki's album or Nicki's record over, he liked Cardi B's record over Nicki's record, which was his opinion.
Yeah.
All right, like an opinion's like, everybody got one, right? And her reply and her response to this at the time was she was going to send Queen up there to fuck him up, right? Now, the one thing about Nicki is really from Southside Jamaica, Queens.
Okay.
She really has from Southside Jamaica, Queens, that when she says jump, they will jump. And they would have beat Self up. And I didn't like that. And I just said, you cannot DJ for having an opinion, right? And I can't let you a DJ for having an opinion. And if that's the case, I can't play your record until that is squashed. I would hope anybody would do it for me. Like, you just can't say, oh, Vlad, you said, and nothing disrespectful. It's not like, you know, you talked about somebody's kids or you did something disrespectful. You just said, I like this record over this, or I like this song, or I like this album.
I like Big Boy Show more than The Breakfast Club.
Correct. Now, because you said that, I can't say, I'm going to send 20 people up here to f*** up.
Right.
No, that's your opinion. That is your opinion.
Yes.
And I just didn't like that. And I said I wasn't going to play the record. That was me. Me not playing the record. And that's where it got into, you know, all out of sorts.
Nicki Minaj didn't just wake up one day and start crashing out online. What people are watching right now isn't random, it's pressure. Because when you strip away the Don Lemon drama, the tweets, the clapbacks, and the fake outrage, what's left underneath is something much heavier. Money stress, legal fallout, and years of standing 10 toes down behind the wrong people. And once that money trail gets exposed, the entire story changes. This wasn't about Don Lemon. It never was. This was about survival. Nicki Minaj has always been loud, confident, and unapologetic. That's part of the brand. But lately, the energy feels different. It's not controlled, it's not calculated, it's reactive, defensive, almost frantic. At AMFEST, she really thought she was about to read Don Lemon for filth. Instead, she ended up exposing herself. The moment clips leaked, it became clear this wasn't a clever clapback or a calculated media play. This was someone snapping in real time. The post that followed only made it worse. Insults, extreme language, calls for someone to be locked up, all over a situation she clearly didn't fully understand. And that's when people started asking a different question. Why now? Because Nicki Minaj's public image didn't just crack overnight. It started spiraling the moment real-life consequences showed up at her front door. And those consequences weren't about social media beefs or bloggers. They were about money. The Don Lemon situation only looks messy if you don't understand the context. He was covering a chaotic protest in Minnesota, where demonstrators disrupted a church service. On the surface, it looked like people randomly disrespecting religion. But the reason the church was targeted mattered. One of the pastors wasn't just a pastor, he was also connected to ICE. That's why the protest happened there. Don Lemon was live on the ground, explaining the situation as it unfolded. No spin, no opinion, just reporting. But Nicki Minaj didn't pause to check that. She saw a clip, assumed disrespect, and took it personally. Then came the post. The Chucky doll, the insults, and the demand that Don Lemon be locked up. That single post showed how far off base her reaction was. She wasn't responding to facts. She was reacting emotionally. And once she went that far, Don Lemon decided not to ignore it. He responded publicly, saying Nicki Minaj didn't understand journalism and was speaking on matters above her capacity. And then he added a jab that cut deeper, saying the image she chose missed the mark completely, and that a pick-me doll would have been more accurate. That alone embarrassed her. But then he went further. In a follow-up response, Don Lemon said Nicki Minaj should focus on her own legal situation, adding that she is reportedly undocumented and, under Trump's rules, would face deportation herself. That moment flipped the entire conversation. Suddenly, Nicki Minaj wasn't the loud voice on the moral high ground anymore. She was the contradiction, because this wasn't ancient history. Nicki Minaj herself had addressed her immigration status years ago. Back in 2018, she openly said she came to the US as an undocumented child at 5 years old. She spoke with empathy about family separation and criticized Trump's policies, calling them terrifying and cruel. That's why this situation feels so backwards. One minute she's asking for compassion, the next she's demanding punishment. No research, no nuance, just outrage. And the internet noticed. But while everyone was distracted by the Don Lemon drama, something far more serious was unfolding behind the scenes. Something that explains why Nicki Minaj's been snapping at everyone lately. Her house was almost taken. In 2024, Nicki Minaj was hit with a default judgment for nearly $500,000. Not a rumor, not speculation, court records. And it was tied directly to her husband, Kenneth Petty. This didn't come from thin air. The case traces back to 2019, when Nicki Minaj was on tour in Germany. According to legal filings, she got into a heated situation with a female security guard. Things escalated. Another guard stepped in to calm it down. That's when Kenneth entered the situation. The male guard, Thomas Wyden Miller, claimed Kenneth approached him from the side and struck him hard enough to break his jaw. Those aren't internet allegations. That's what's written in the lawsuit. Both Nicki Minaj and Kenneth were named in the case. And instead of responding or handling it head-on, they allegedly left Germany after authorities issued an arrest warrant for Kenneth. No response, no court appearance, no defense, so the court ruled automatically against them. A default judgment. Even after that ruling, the money wasn't paid. Thomas went back to court and asked for enforcement. Specifically, he pushed for Nicki's Hidden Hills mansion to be sold to cover the debt. And this wasn't an empty threat. There was enough equity in that house to satisfy the judgment. The judge seriously considered it. Nicki was one step away from losing the home she worked years to buy. Then, at the absolute last second, literally one day before the forced sale could move forward, Nicki Minaj suddenly came up with the full $500,000 and paid it. Yes, she kept the house. But let's stop pretending that was a win. Scrambling to drop $500,000 at the last possible moment over something you didn't even physically do isn't a victory. That's panic. That's pressure. That's consequences catching up. And all of it traces back to one choice: standing behind a man who keeps dragging legal problems into her life. Kenneth Petty isn't just a controversial figure online. He's a registered offender with real-world legal restrictions that don't disappear just because he married a superstar. Certain public spaces are off limits. Travel comes with conditions. Every move has to be calculated, and every legal issue that pops up doesn't just follow him. It follows Nicki Minaj's bank account. That's the part people gloss over, because when you're Nicki Minaj, the money being spent isn't his. It's hers. Money she earned long before he entered the picture. Money built off decades of work, touring, branding, and hit records. Yet every time his past resurfaces or his legal situation spirals, it's her writing the check. DL Hughley didn't sugarcoat that reality at all. He said Nicki Minaj has much bigger problems than Don Lemon. including a husband who keeps costing her millions. And whether people like DL Hughley or not, that point landed because it was rooted in facts, not feelings. Some fans rushed to spin the $500,000 settlement as a flex. She paid it. The house stayed. But that framing ignores the bigger picture. Paying $500,000 at the last possible second because your husband couldn't manage his legal situation isn't boss behavior. It's not a win. It's damage control. It's panic wrapped in pride. And what makes this even harder to defend is that this isn't the first time Nicki has publicly gone to bat for someone close to her with a serious criminal history. Before Kenneth, there was her brother. Nicki Minaj didn't quietly support her brother behind the scenes. She did it publicly, even after he was convicted and sentenced to 25 years to life for a serious crime involving a minor. She didn't distance herself. She didn't stay silent. She wrote a letter to the judge asking for leniency, describing him as patient, gentle, genuine, and selfless. Those weren't internet rumors. Those were her own words. That's why a lot of people aren't shocked by what's happening now. They're not seeing a breakdown. They're seeing a pattern. A long-standing habit of defending the indefensible, no matter the cost, and no matter how bad it looks publicly. Which is exactly why her recent MAGA pivot has people side-eyeing hard. Nicki Minaj has been leaning into MAGA-style rhetoric, praising Trump, calling him handsome and dashing, and using language that directly contradicts her past positions. For someone who once spoke passionately about immigration and family separation, the switch-up feels jarring. So naturally, the internet is confused. Is this about money drying up? Is it desperation under pressure? Or is this who she's always been, now fully unfiltered? DL Hughley says none of this should surprise anyone. In his view, Nicki fits right in with that crowd. Not because of politics, but because of patterns. Loyalty to the wrong people, doubling down instead of reflecting, and refusing to take accountability when consequences finally show up. And that's the uncomfortable truth here. This story was never really about Don Lemon. It's not even about politics. It's about choices and the price that comes with them. It's about choices. Nicki Minaj is one of the most talented artists of her generation. Her legacy was solid. But watching someone fumble it in real time because they refuse to separate loyalty from self-destruction is painful. When people show you who they are repeatedly, it stops being shocking and starts being a pattern. So the real question is this. Do you agree that Nicki Minaj has bigger issues to deal with than internet beefs? Is this MAGA turn tied to money problems and legal pressure, or is this her true character finally coming to the surface? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you made it this far, subscribe for more real breakdowns like this. And remember, talent can build a legacy, but choices decide how it ends. Stay locked in.